Well, hello and welcome. We are here at kind of an unusual time, and I guess the time's not so unusual, nor is the day of the week. But we usually have these live presentations every 2 weeks, and we're doing a special event today because there's something I thought was important to share with our community. So, of course, those that have been watching, you might know me already. My name's Guy Stevens. I'm the founder and executive director of the Alliance Against Seclusion and Restraint. We're an organization out there that's trying to really do good and help bring about change in regards to how children and youth and others are treated oftentimes in the name of behavior. There's a lot of things that happen like restraint, seclusion, suspension, expulsion, corporal punishment. We really want to help change that, and to do that it's about really changing the ways that we're working with and supporting kids, and understanding the impacts of trauma and the impacts of disability and all the things that we can do to help support people. So in that vein, I've got a guest with me today here for a few minutes, and won't be a long presentation today, but to talk a little bit about an upcoming event that I think is really helpful for people to know about. There's a conference coming up called the Creating Trauma Sensitive Schools Conference, which is something that's really a fantastic opportunity for educators out there and others that are really looking at trauma-informed approaches. So I've got a guest here with me today, Ginger Healy, and Ginger is with the Attachment and Trauma Network. And I'm going to bring Ginger up, and we're going to have just kind of a fun conversation. So let me go ahead and bring Ginger up here. Hello, Ginger. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you, and pleasure to see you. We actually, it's funny because so many people that, we do these events with, I've never met in person. I feel like I know, but I've never met in person. We actually had an opportunity to meet in person, which was great. We both attended an event that was being done by Dr. Mona Delahook, which was absolutely fantastic. Of course, I'm a big fan of the organization that you're with, which is the Attachment and Trauma Network. And of course, we're here today to talk about an event that you're holding. But I wonder, we've got, different people that are part of our community here. And I'm sure that many of them have probably heard of your organization, but probably some have not as well. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about the organization and a little bit about your role with the organization, and then we'll talk about the event.
Absolutely. I'm always so happy to talk about the Attachment and Trauma Network because I just am so proud of the work that they do and that I am involved in. It's a nonprofit organization that's been around for more than 25 years with the primary mission of helping children who have been impacted by trauma by helping those caregivers and support people in their lives like teachers and educators really become more educated. We do a lot of advocating and educating and support for these families so that they in turn help heal their children who have been impacted by trauma, because unfortunately, at least 1 in 4 children have experienced these adverse childhood experiences. And now because of the pandemic, that number is even higher. So the need is great.
Absolutely. And you're, the organization, the values, all the things that you're doing are, of course, very aligned with what we're doing here at the Alliance. While we're a fairly young organization, it's been a great opportunity to meet you and Julie and others that are part of the Attachment and Trauma Network, and honestly learn from the things that you're doing and try to amplify, the work that we're doing as well and whatnot. So really appreciate you sharing a little bit of background. Now, what is your role with the Attachment and Trauma Network?
I'm the parent program director. The Attachment and Trauma Network has kind of 2 sides to it. And one is the parent program, which when I say parent, I mean caregiver. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we have the schools program that works with, educators and schools of all levels and different kinds in a larger way. And so I love when the parent program and the schools program kind of meld together and do work together like we're doing for this conference, for the community, for the larger whole, to help these children, because it takes a village. So
absolutely. Yeah. And we seem to hear that lesson over and over again. I'm thinking, as you said that, about Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey's recent book, and talking about some of the indigenous cultures in New Zealand and how they really approach things in terms of that village, and how our society has changed in such a way that we don't have the same kinds of supports that we've had. And I think that, there are difficulties that kind of arise from that, that change in society. And I think the importance of recognizing, trauma and having that community coming together is so critical.
It's beyond critical. It's everything. It's one
Mhm.
of the 4 R's, of
Right.
the healing and becoming trauma informed, is just to recognize the prevalence so that we can respond in a trauma informed way.
Mhm.
We don't heal in isolation. It really takes, you know, those relationships and those connections. And that's why we also love the work you're doing and support you so much, because this is a community of one heart and mind where we are all in it for the kids and looking to help heal, the damage that has been done and continues to be done if we don't
Mhm.
become more
Mhm.
aware and focused on this.
Absolutely. That's such a great point. And, I mean, the point too about not continuing. And, there are times that I think very well intentioned folks are doing things that are causing trauma,
Yeah.
sometimes due to kind of outdated practices or other things that, I mean, for instance, I think about schools as we think about the conference. And, part of something that I think is really critical is you can't have a trauma informed school if you're actually causing trauma as
Yeah.
well. So being very mindful of kind of all the things that might be happening within an environment becomes so important.
So very important. Yeah. There's a lot of re traumatization going on. And it's sometimes done, without knowledge of that's what's going
Right.
on. But
Yep.
that is a lot of what we're going to talk about at the conference: ways to heal and how to move forward, the action plans that can be put in place, even how to develop a trauma informed FBA or,
Mhm, mhm.
behavioral plan or IEP,
I,
those
I
things.
know that upcoming conference well, or that upcoming presentation.
Yeah.
I think that's Connie, if I'm not mistaken, and Connie was
Yes.
actually on with us recently. Really great stuff.
Yeah, and not just her. There will be others talking about it. Dr. Melissa Sadin is
Oh, okay.
an expert in this as well, and she has written many books on it. We have unbelievable speakers. You're going to be there speaking, but I
Mhm.
mean, we have U.S. Secretary Miguel Cardona, who
Mhm.
is going to be speaking. We have Dr. Stephen Porges, with the polyvagal systems
Absolutely.
theory.
We're a huge fan of Dr. Porges'
Oh,
work, and when we were lucky enough to interview him a while ago, and have been following his work and kind of the derivative work that's come out of the polyvagal theory. There seems to be a lot of activity around that now,
it is
with others building
everything
on it.
now.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
it's shaping everything we do as therapists. I'm coming from that therapeutic, standpoint, and how we input that into the school system, into therapeutic practice, and then into the homes, so that we can do
mhm,
therapeutic
mhm,
parenting with these children as
mhm,
well.
mhm. Okay. So this conference, it's called Creating Trauma Sensitive Schools. And I know you're doing both a in-person event and a kind of a remote event.
Yeah.
Um, Give us a little background just on the event itself, because this is what, the fifth annual event that you've done?
This is the fifth. It's
Okay. Okay.
so exciting because it is growing every year. And this year is special because we are doing the 2 different options. And we're doing that because of COVID. We want to be very mindful of
Right.
those who cannot attend in person and who can watch it remotely. So the virtual portion is at the end of the week, February 24th and February 25th. And those recordings will be available to attendees for 90 days. So
Mhm.
you can watch and rewatch. And, we understand that teachers are having a hard time finding substitutes these
Right.
days,
Right.
and that, it's a tricky time. So I love that we have the virtual option. We also have the in person option in Houston, Texas, and that's February 20th through the 22nd. And we have COVID policy in place with mandated vaccines and masks to keep everybody safe. So we've got a really great policy there to keep everybody safe. So we're going to do both. We're going to gather in person and we're going to gather virtually so that there's something for everybody.
Mhm,
There's an
mhm.
option for everybody.
And there's a day in between, if I recall properly, right? So I have enough time to get
Wednesday.
home from Houston
Yes.
and watch all the great stuff going on the the virtual conference.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think we'll all be on planes Wednesday heading back home and
That's right. That's
heading
right.
back to our home offices. Yep.
Yep. So, this started 5 years ago. How did this get started? This conference, and kind of what was the original goal, and how have you grown over the years?
Yeah, ATN was founded by moms who were
Mhm.
caring for children who have been impacted by trauma. And that can be a very isolating thing.
Mhm.
Speaking
Mhm.
as a mom of a child who was traumatized, I can vouch for that. And so they found each other and they grew this nonprofit agency to help families. And then, Dr. Melissa Saden tells the story of how her son was having difficulty in school because teachers did not understand how to work with a child that had been traumatized. And so
Mhm.
he told his mom, "You have got to tell the teachers. That is where change will occur." And we all know that teachers, they hold the future in their
Right.
hands.
Right.
They are the catalyst for change. They are
Right.
healing agents. And so she did. And along with Julie Beam and Lorraine Schneider and Stephanie Garden, all these wonderful founders, they began to tell the teachers. And this conference started small and has just grown
Mhm.
exponentially as the word has spread and as we've been able to reach far across. We have had international attendees,
Mhm. Mhm.
so
Mhm.
this conference, of course, is for teachers, but it's also for paraeducators and
Mhm.
school
Mhm.
boards and
Mhm.
why can't I think of the word?
Superintendents, right?
Superintendents, because they're so super.
Right.
And
Right.
anyone really that works with a child, one of the things that we
Mhm.
love to teach and educate is that whoever comes in contact with a child within that school building has the power to heal and change. And so that can be bus drivers and those who work in the lunchroom and those who clean the building. Everybody has a part in this. And so everyone is welcome and encouraged to come to the
Mhm.
conference. School counselors, school
Mhm.
social
Mhm.
workers, parents,
Mhm.
reading aides, all have a beautiful part in this. And there is something for everybody at this
Mhm.
conference. We have so many varied topics that fit everyone. It's just really exciting to
Mhm.
see. And
Mhm.
we're going to have fun too. I mean, this is heavy work, but it takes a need to relax and have fun and connect and network, so that we can
Mhm. Mhm.
continue in this work and keep going because it's hard work and we need each other to continue.
Absolutely. Now you mentioned, kind of parents and families. Do you have many parents that attend these conferences as well?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I was speaking last week at a conference to professionals, and one came up afterwards to me and said, "I loved what you said, but listen, I'm a mom,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
what you said I can put into the home." And one thing we have noticed with trauma informed education is that it works for everybody. I
Absolutely.
understand that teachers are overwhelmed and they don't want to put one more thing on their plate. And so
Mhm.
it feels kind of heavy and overwhelming to think, well, I don't know which kids in my class have been impacted by trauma. You don't need to know. This
Mhm.
work works for everybody. It helps every child in the classroom. It is powerful and healing, not just in the classroom, but in the home as well. So, yes, parents, you are welcome to come as well. We want you there.
That's fantastic, and definitely, want to encourage people. One of the things you mentioned is kind of talking about the diversity of people that this would be good for. And again, I mean, it can be, you're. Well, I'll tell you a personal story, which is, and I think I shared this with you. I've sent this conference information to our local school district and said, "Hey, here's a great opportunity." I shared it with another district that I've been working with recently, who is, trying to kind of improve their approach and working with kids. So I would tell any of the parents out there, you know, send the link to your school district, send it to the teacher, send it to whoever you're working with, and beyond that, if you're an educator and you're looking to go,
Yeah.
I guess we should get to this, but um, I'm assuming people can still get tickets for this, right? This event, when is it happening?
February 20th and
Okay,
22nd for the
okay,
live in person.
okay,
Listen, registration is open right now. We are
okay,
actively taking our registrants and getting them spots. And so, yes, it's definitely not too late to register. You can
okay,
go
great.
to our website, which is attachedtrauma.org, and then
Hmm.
/conference. Or once you
Hmm.
get to the website, if you surf around, you can quickly find how to register for one or the other or both. It
Okay.
just walks you step by step. You can always email me and get a hold of me, and I can walk you through that as well.
Okay, perfect. And roughly, what's the registration fee, or and is it different for different kinds of folks, or?
It's different for the conference.
Okay,
The in-person conference is, you know what, I can't exactly remember the number.
okay,
I think it's close, it's around $400 to $500. And
okay.
then for the virtual, it's probably half of that. I
Yeah, it looks
don't
like
know.
295 is what
Thank
I'm
you.
seeing here. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's great.
And
So let's go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know that it can be tough sometimes to come up with those fees too. We
Mm.
do have some volunteer spots available. And if someone wants to volunteer, we can waive the registration fee. We would need to talk about that, but please look at that as an option as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I know I'll share that with maybe our team, but
Yeah,
people that are part of the community, if they were interested in doing that, can we share an email address, or who would?
absolutely.
Okay, okay.
So
Um,
my go ahead. I
oh, I was
apologize.
just going to ask you your email address, and I can probably pull it up here as well. So I'll try to put that here in the chat for
Yeah,
folks. Is that
I'm
okay?
happy to give it out. It's ginger at
Okay.
attachedtrauma.org.
Okay, great. So let's talk a little bit more then about the conference itself. So
Yeah.
let's start with the in-person event, which starts first. Tell us a little bit, and you've mentioned already some of the folks that are planning to come, but tell me what's really exciting to you. I mean, how many sessions do you have? What kind of
Oh,
sessions do you have?
yeah.
What are you really excited about?
Well, I just can't narrow it down. I'll just start talking and see where
Sure.
I end up because I'm
Okay.
so excited for all of it. So Sunday is kind of the pre-conference kickoff, and we have some deep dives. And I know I've mentioned Dr. Melissa Sadin before, but it's probably because she's one of my favorites. She's written so many books. And if you know her, her books are thin. They're easy to read. They're not overwhelming because she's a teacher, been a teacher herself, and she knows how much time teachers have. But she's going to do a deep dive into things like the IEP and the functional behavioral assessment. And then we've also got Joe Brummer, who is an expert in
Mhm,
restorative justice, and he's an
mhm.
author too. And then
Absolutely.
Jessica Sinarski, and she does work with children. And I love her so much because as a child therapist and a social worker in the elementary schools, her books, I'm getting that a little crooked, they help heal children. And so she does Brave Brains, and she's going to do a deep dive into that.
Mhm, mhm.
The other exciting thing that we're doing that I think is really unique and special is that we've got a service project that we're doing for the community, and it's called Calm Kits in the Community. I'm going to try to show you my Calm Kit.
Okay.
This is a box, and this
Mhm.
is what the box looked like. Your Calm Kit might look a little different than mine, but if you can tell, it's full of fun stuff. It's full of regulation tools for children. Our dream would be to have a calm kit in every classroom because in every classroom there are moments that children get dysregulated and
Mhm.
need something to help calm them down. And so we are putting these calm kits together as part of the conference that teachers can take home to their classrooms. A parent could take home and give to the
Mm, mm,
teacher. You can use these in the home, you can use them everywhere, but they have regulation tools in them so that kids learn really quickly. I'm not doing okay. I need something to help me calm down. And they go to the Calm Kit and they find what is in there that calms them down. So that's a
mhm,
service
mhm,
project that we're doing for the community as part of the
mhm.
conference.
Now, am I recalling properly? Because I saw this recently, that they essentially, the volunteers will make two, one to give and one to take. Is that how it works? Okay.
That's
And is that
exactly
open
right.
to anyone that is attending the
Yes.
conference? Okay.
Yes.
I'd seen that, and I saw space was limited, and I thought I'd really like to do that, but at the same time, I didn't want to take away from somebody else.
No,
Um,
their
okay.
space is limited, but we have
Okay.
plenty of space. Do you know
Okay.
what I
Okay.
mean? So
Okay.
yes, it's
Well, I'm
just
I'm gonna sign up for one because I was really interested when I saw it, and I thought that sounds like a really great idea. And I
it
I can
is.
imagine doing the same thing you did, which is getting back and showing people what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off
No,
there. Okay.
it's something that I am super
Mhm,
excited about.
mhm.
We're also looking at doing, a reception where we have therapeutic animals there to kind of help calm and
Uh,
regulate, and to also teach about how some of these animals can be fit into a program.
right.
So that will be a powerful, fun
That's
evening as
that that's
well.
that's fantastic. You know, More than ever. Full disclosure here, I've always been a dog person. I love dogs. We have 3 dogs. I've always had a dog in my life, and they truly are a calming presence. Not to say that potty training is always one, but, once you get through it, I've always looked at my dogs as members of my, family, and, I've actually learned more about how to be a better dog dad as I've learned how to be a better dad,
Mm.
because I think there's so many things that apply. We had somebody recently that we knew that had adopted a dog that was a little bit older, and I was even thinking about the trauma of changing homes that might
Yeah.
affect a dog, and I was thinking about all those things. But as I think about the conference, I've been home almost nonstop for the last 2 years, and I will be away from my dog. So, that that sounds like a really good opportunity. I joke with people sometimes that I like I like most dogs better than most people I know.
Yeah.
Now, present company excluded, but
Well, I'm glad to hear that, but I'll tell you, you're not alone in that
yeah,
sentiment. And there is
yeah,
something actually scientific,
right,
neuroscientific to that. So
right,
you're right
right.
on.
Well, I think it's helped my blood pressure by having
Hmm.
being home with my dogs all the time for sure. So what else exciting do you have going on? I mean, it
Oh,
sounds like, again, you mentioned some guests here, and I think about Joe Brumer. I had a conversation with him just recently, and he's going to join us for a live event in a few weeks. I mean, you've got some really, I mean, like you said, Stephen Porges, Joe Brumer, to get the Secretary
yeah.
of Education is amazing. Matthew Portell,
Yes,
yeah, big fan of Matthew's work. He,
he's
of
a
course,
rock star.
yeah, absolutely. Matthew has done fantastic work at Fall Hamilton Elementary, and he, of course, runs the Trauma Informed Educators podcast,
Yep.
which does really amazing interviews. So you've really got a great setup of guests. Anything else you want to highlight about the
Yeah.
live event?
I want to tell you about JC Hall.
Mm,
He's a school counselor therapist in the
mm,
Bronx, which has like a graduation rate of like 49%. And he does hip hop therapy with these
mm,
kids to heal them. And there's a documentary on YouTube. I can get it to you to link. We're going to show it at the conference, and he's going to be there, and the work he does is mind blowing.
mm,
It's so powerful, but the way he uses rap as a form of expression for these
mhm, mhm,
kids to get it out and express themselves, and he has saved lives. Listen,
mm,
the work we do, the work you do, the work that all these speakers do, it saves lives.
absolutely.
And teachers have this power as well. So it's,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had a conversation with my son today, actually, at lunch, and he and I were just talking about. We've been talking a lot about careers. He's in 11th grade, and beginning to have some of those conversations about what comes next for him. But he was asking me about some of the things that I've done. Because aside from my day job, there have always been other things, and of course, over the last few years, I was putting a lot of my time into this work. And I was talking to him about how important this kind of work is,
yeah,
that while there's other things that I enjoy doing, the fact that, this kind of work, I mean, we've got a lot of kids out there that are, disabled, black, brown, traumatized, very young, that are on the other side of very punitive approaches. And those approaches, we know what the outcomes are. We know that it's leading kids down the school to prison pipeline.
yeah,
We know that kids go from the juvenile justice system to the criminal justice system. And you're absolutely dead on there. You're not only saving lives, but you're changing outcomes.
yeah,
Um, so, I mean, it's talking to the choir here. I mean, I can't tell you how passionately I feel about this work, because, it's not just about my child or your child. It's about so many kids out there, and knowing that we can do better.
yeah.
And I feel like as a society, if we know we can do better, we have this obligation. We have this obligation, and I think we can do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that sometimes we get overwhelmed, and there are those out there who have done it the same way, and they don't know that there are
Right.
alternatives, that
Absolutely.
there is so much new neuroscience out there. There's so
Yep.
much
Yep.
practical now tips
Okay.
and strategies that we can incorporate into classroom settings and in homes that we didn't know about, that now we do.
Right, right,
So,
right, right.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's amazing, if you really think about it, that, large systems take a long time to change, and
yeah,
to me, it's very amazing that, a lot of the, approaches taken in schools are often based on science from the 1930s and 50s. rather than, modern neuroscience from the 90s and beyond. And again, it's a shift. It takes time to make that transition. But at the end of the day, I mean, I've always been very, I think we all probably are in agreement. I mean, teaching is a difficult job. It's probably
Yeah.
more difficult right now than ever with the trauma related to the pandemic. But at the end of the day, it's really about like improving outcomes for everybody.
Yeah.
If we're taking trauma informed approaches, and not just in how we're working with kids, but in how we're supporting the adults and supporting the teachers and the staff, we're going to have better outcomes for staff as well. We can do things like lessen the impact of staff turnover, and
Yeah.
people really feeling and getting subjected to their own trauma in jobs that are very difficult without the appropriate support. So I think that's a really important piece, is that this
Hmm.
is really about improving outcomes for everybody. And this
Yeah.
kind of conference, I mean, that's where it's at. It's about how do we, because we can't do these things in isolation. You can't just say, well, we
Right.
need to do this for the kids. No, it's for everybody. And I love like the kits that you're doing and all of that. So tell me a little bit more then, unless you have anything else to add about the in-person event. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the virtual event.
Yeah. The virtual, listen, they are both going to be so good.
Mhm.
I want to tell you about Amelia Nagoski. If you have not heard of, oh, wrong book. Let me show you this book, The Burnout Book. This is one of the best books that I read last year,
Mhm.
to the point that every single woman in my life, and it's not just for women, but it speaks to them in a different way. I'm
Mhm.
like, you have to read this book. You have to read this book. But Amelia Nagoski wrote this book with her twin sister. And so she's coming as a keynote for the virtual. And I mean, what she has to say is life changing. And you hit on talking about how teachers are burning out and there's
Mhm.
a high turnover. I mean, this is experiencing vicarious trauma and secondary trauma through these kids. And we are all currently living this collective
Mhm.
trauma
Mhm.
right
Mhm.
now. And so I want teachers to understand, like, we know that, we understand that, and we got you, because we don't want you to come and us have you sit for 8 hours and us tell you what to do. It's not about that. It's
Mhm.
about coming together, even virtually, and being around like-minded people who are doing the work and who can say, this works and this is how we did it, and let's connect. And we're going to have some fun, really fun kind of self-care moments throughout the virtual conference that will really kind of regulate and deactivate that nervous system, because
Mhm.
everybody right now is really
Mhm.
struggling to
Mhm.
do that.
Mhm.
So you will get that same impact in the virtual conference.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the speakers in the virtual conference are phenomenal as well. One thing that I really love that we're doing in the virtual conference is having real life examples. So one thing that we get asked after every conference is, that's great, I loved the information, now what?
Mm.
Well, that's what we're going to do at the virtual, is say,
Right.
here's what. So
Right.
we have schools and teachers from around the country who have been doing the work and seeing amazing results. They're going to present and say, this is what we did. This is what it looks like in the classroom. This is what works for us. And this is how we got there, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel,
Mhm. Mhm.
because that
Mhm.
feels
Mhm.
really overwhelming.
Right.
So
Right.
I love that we're doing those real world examples. Those are really powerful.
Mhm. Mhm. That's very exciting, because you're right. You can understand theory, but without
Yeah.
really kind of getting into what's this look like? How do I do it?
And
In the
how
future?
did you pay for it? And how
Right.
did you get the equipment? And
Right.
how did you convince
Yeah.
your
Great.
school board?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because I think teachers get excited, but then they're like, oh, but the mountain that's in front of me that I have to climb, or
Right.
the boulder
Right.
I have to push out of the way. Nope, we're going to remove those boulders and say, here it is. And we've
Mhm.
got your back. So,
Mhm. Mhm. And just to be clear, people can go to the live event, and or the virtual event,
right.
or they can go to just one or the other, or they can go to both. Is that correct?
Right. It's kind of
Okay.
two different conferences
Okay.
because the speakers are different.
Mhm.
The and we've got a lot of different topics. There's just so much good in both of them, but you can register to the virtual, you can register to the in-person, whatever you can do. If you can do both, oh my gosh, that's the
Right.
ultimate, right?
Right.
But
Right. Excellent, excellent. I'm going to bring up the screen here with the conference information, and let me just bring this up here. Just going to add this to stream. So I put the website in as well in terms of where people can go to find out more about the conference. But here on the website, it's on the Attached Trauma Network page. There's information, of course, about the conference, the full agenda, and where people can go to register for the event. Anything else you wanted to highlight on either of the events? I guess kind of calling either. It's like your fifth and sixth annual conference.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
No, I
Okay.
think we've done a pretty thorough job. There is
Okay.
so much more to talk about, but
Yeah.
I just want to keep everybody excited to go
Sure. Sure.
explore all of the topics. You can go in there and look at the schedule as well, and
Okay.
really see what you know
Okay.
what.
Now, are you still taking sponsorships, or do you still have space available for people that want to exhibit there as well? I mean, I know we've got people in our community that are part of organizations or private consulting and whatnot. Are you still doing that kind of thing as well?
We are. We still have room for more sponsorships
Okay.
and more exhibitors in
Okay.
both. You
Okay.
can do a virtual booth at the virtual conference. So either way, we still have room for sponsors and exhibitors.
Okay, that's great. And I see, our friend and your coworker here, Julie Beam, is on watching.
Oh,
And what's really great is that Julie has given me permission to sign up to go make a kit. So I'm definitely going to do that at some point after I get off today. And great to see you, Julie, as well on here. I want to give people a chance if they have any questions to ask you. So anyone that's watching live now, if you have any questions that you want to ask about the conference, we can take those real quickly. And of course, Ginger, we'll wrap up here in a minute. I know I told you we wouldn't be long, but it's easy to kind of dive down the rabbit hole of the conversation. And again, this to me is really exciting. It's
yeah.
I think about all the different ways that we can help to promote change. And it's events like this that have such a tremendous impact. And it's not only just coming and hearing people speak, but it's the connections people make with each
Yep.
other. It's the ability, I'm really excited. I've been, working with people over the last few years that I've never met in person that I'm like, hey, you're going to be at
Yeah.
the Houston event. I'm looking forward to meeting you. So, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities even just beyond the conference. I know you have a kind of a software package that lets people kind of, explore the speakers and all of that. And I've seen that. It looks like you have a lot of amazing things that are part of this event. But, to me, one of those really incredible parts is just those connections. So I have a couple of comments I'm going to hit on here real quick. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. One from one of our friends here and part of our community, Nicole, who says, thank you for welcoming paras. They're the ones who are with the children the entire day. So important that they're getting continued training and education. And Nicole, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Too often we see paraprofessionals not getting really critical training and very, it's a very, true response that they are often, I remember at one point my son was working with a para for the majority of his day. And at one point I requested to meet with the para to talk about things. And the school put up kind of a brick wall, like, well, you can't meet with the para.
Mm.
Well, why not? This person's working with my son. Eventually, after some pressure, they agreed, and but only with the teacher present, and that was all fine. But really, the paraprofessionals can be extremely
Oh,
important in supporting kids.
they're
Um,
yeah, and
yeah,
they're the hands-on. They're there to day to day. That relationship can be so healing and instrumental. You ask any kid when they're an adult, when they're grown up, who mattered in their life, and how many times will they tell you who was with them every day at the school?
that's right. That's right. Well, I remember a para that worked with my son from probably for 2 years in second and third grade that made a huge difference that really was a meaningful relationship and continued to be for a number of years, and really, really critical. A couple other comments here. Of course, Julie said it's going to be super. We're excited to see you all either in Houston or over the internet. All are welcome. Let's see what else we have here. And again, Julie provided us with a cost $495 in
Excellent.
person. $295 for the virtual, and I think somewhere said that $645 for everything. You, of course, mentioned that there are some volunteer spots open, and it sounds like, especially in Houston, but are there potentially volunteers that can help with the virtual part as well?
There are. We do
Okay.
need volunteers virtually as well. But
Okay.
yeah, we
Okay.
do have spots. So
Okay. Great. Let's see. And okay, and this kind of relates to something David added. David said, for parents who are advocating in low income and in need areas, are there any ways to accommodate them to attend? And yeah, David, I think what we were just referring to is that they still need some volunteers to help out with the conference, both the virtual conference and the Houston event. So if parents are interested, and we put Julie's email here earlier, and I'll copy it again. In fact, somebody had done us a favor and put it in here. There it is. Casey had put your email up for us, Ginger at attachedtrauma.org. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, perfect. So if you want to get in touch with Ginger, David, she can help you out with that if you know somebody that might be interested.
Yeah.
So with that, we've gone through a lot of the comments here. It doesn't look like we have any other questions popping up. I'm really excited to not only attend the conference, but to get an opportunity to present. We'll be talking a little bit about restraint and seclusion at the conference in person in Houston. So I'm looking forward to that, but I'm really more than anything looking forward to attending one of your conferences, and I've heard really great things. So is there anything else that you want to share with us about the conference before we wrap up?
No, registration is open, so don't hesitate. Bring a friend, and we can't wait to see you all. There is power and magic just coming together for this common goal.
That's fantastic. So, Ginger, I really appreciate you. I know we just set this up a couple of days ago. I really appreciate you making some time out of your schedule to come on and tell our audience about what you're doing. I think, again, it's a fantastic opportunity. Certainly encourage people that are interested. Again, if you're a teacher, get in touch with your school and find out if they can either send you, or you can do the virtual event, or, even both. If you're a parent, send it along. Oftentimes it's really helpful in even building relationships between the school to say, hey, I heard about this great opportunity. I wanted to share it with you. We can do things to make a difference. So thank you so much, Ginger. I look forward to seeing you again. Although, we've had a chance to meet, I look forward to seeing you again in Houston here in just about a month. I've got a lot of work to do in the next month.
Yeah, get ready.
Finalize my presentation.
Yeah, we've got high expectations from you, because we know how amazing you are, and we want you to bring it.
I appreciate that. Well, Ginger, I'm going to let you go. I've got one final announcement I'm going to make to everybody, and you're welcome to stick around if you want to. Just a quick announcement. But if you've got to drop off, I understand. It should just take me a second. I wanted to mention something we've done just in the last day that I think is really, really critical. And that is, we have launched our new Advocacy Toolkit. We have worked actually with two amazing interns from the Heller School of Social Management and Policy over the last several months, and developed a really great toolkit for people that are in various states and want to advocate for change. We now have a model legislation advocacy toolkit, and it includes all sorts of fantastic information about how to advocate for change, recommendations in terms of changes to state laws. And I wanted to just mention that to everybody that might be watching today. And certainly, Ginger, if you guys have a chance to take a look, and we'd love you to share it as well. There's both a website where people can access it, but we also have a PDF version, which is just a nicely formatted version of the toolkit. And it's got, again, a lot of fantastic information, background information about what went into creating. We actually had a team that was working and doing interviews with professionals and parents and self-advocates, and even people that weren't supportive of legislation to get an idea of the kinds of things that we might want to include. So we go over the issues. We have in here a lot of quotes from self-advocates. And I'll put the link in, Anna. I see you asking for where you can find that. I'll put the link in the chat here in a second. Also, some of the stakeholders that include some people that we both probably know and love. Dr. Lori Desautel, Robin Peters-Bennett, Mona Delahook, and others. But we provide definitions and recommendations around laws that deal with restraint and seclusion, as well as corporal punishment. Because honestly, we think that it's well past time for corporal punishment to go away. So just wanted to mention that as we wrap up today.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, it's something that I've wanted to have done and work on for quite some time. And you can probably relate. Sometimes being part of an organization like this, you feel like you're building the plane while you're flying it.
Yeah.
There's so much to do, but I was so delighted to have the opportunity to do. It was an MBA internship opportunity, and again, the interns that were part of our team for that, Amen and Abigail, were part of that team. Did an amazing job doing the research, helping to put together the toolkit, and I'm really excited and proud of what we've done here with this. And I think it's a great resource. While we're hopeful that laws like the Keeping All Students Safe Act will pass, I think it's still time to go at this state by state and
Yeah.
try to do what we can. So anyway, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here and end the broadcast. Ginger, you can hang on for 1 second here, and we will just end this. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Please share this. I did promise you, Anna, that I would put the link in the chat. So I'm going to do that right now before I sign off. Of course, you can just go to our website as well, which is endseclusion.org. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.